How would you cope with the loss of a loved one? See how one family does it in After Yang, written and directed by Kogo Nada, who's directed shorts, documentaries, music videos, and a 2017 movie called Columbus. This is based on a short story by Alexander Weinstein called Saying Goodbye to Yang. This has Colin Farrell, Jodie Turner-Smith, Justin H. Min, a few others, and also a young girl named Mika with a name that I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce and probably couldn't correctly if you gave me $5 million. This comes to us courtesy of A24 and Cinereach and tells the story of the not-too-distant future. Next Sunday AD, no further than that. There is an AI named Yang, not too different from you or me. He's a smart and intelligent robot who makes life easy for this family. I'm not going to rhyme any more of these words, so let's move on to the rest of the plot. So now with that butchering of the MST3K intro, Yang is a bright and intelligent and understanding AI program that is of Chinese descent and helps Mika, who is adopted, adjust to having adopted parents and everything. And everything seems good. Yang is understanding. He takes care of them while Kira, Jodie Turner-Smith, and Jake, Colin Farrell, have their respective businesses. Jake owns a tea shop, and Kira does her own thing. But then one day, Yang has an issue. He malfunctions. He shuts down. And there are ways to fix him, but that would require, well, a whole lot more money. And it seems like even if they try to fix, what issues there could be, there may not be a way to do anything other than preserve his memories. He just shut down. For whatever reason, this model shut down, and maybe there's just no way to save him, and they have to come to grips with the fact they had this, AI program as part of their lives. Mika really, really got attached to him. He helped her learn Chinese and about her ancestry. And unfortunately, they got to come to grips with the possibility that Yang may not come back. So I was pretty excited to see this. I didn't get to see it in theaters, but it is on Showtime, and I got a pretty sweet deal, a free trial, and then a few months, at an affordable price for Showtime. So I'm going to dive into a bunch of A24 movies. And since this is a recent release, I wanted to see what it was like. I didn't expect anything necessarily fast moving. I expected a good character study, and I expected, drama, sci-fi elements, obviously with the AI program, theme about it. And Colin Farrell usually is a slam dunk as far as delivering a pretty good performance. Jodie Turner-Smith, I swear I've seen a couple movies. Can't place off the top of my head. But as far as the cast, not the worst thing in the world. And the story's there. It's also based on a short story, and I do hate to say this as somebody that is a big fan of A24 movies. For example, Hereditary. Fucking love Hereditary. Midsummer. Fucking love Midsummer. And Saint Maud. And I just recently reviewed Slice. That was a movie from A24 that slipped under my radar that came back out, came out back in 2018. And for the most part, I love A24 movies. Not everything is perfect, but they hit out of the park more often than not. I fucking loved Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I'm excited to see Men in just about, a week and a half. This is unfortunately a rare misfire. I didn't expect anything fast-paced, but it was beautifully shot. I will say from a technical perspective, this was fucking great. It looked great. It was beautiful, vibrant, sad at the same time because of what the family was going through. And I hate to say it, but there was no fucking chemistry between any of them. Colin Farrell seemed like he was sleepwalking throughout the whole thing. Yes, you have the idea that they're all shocked and they're in their own little world and they're trying to come to grips with all this stuff, but you have to wonder how this family got to this point. Had they not had Yang, what the hell would this family have been doing? They just would have been sleepwalking around the goddamn house, and it would have been just really, really weird. And I get it. I get what they were going for, but it didn't grip me at all. Outside of the technical aspects, like, the little girl who played Mika was fine. She was fine in it. Kira was okay, or Jodie Turner-Smith was okay. At times, peaked up a little bit, and then that was it. And Colin Farrell, again, just seemed like he was sleepwalking. There wasn't a lot to this movie. And unfortunately, you get some sci-fi-ish elements. I'll get into spoilers here in a little bit. But you get to see Yang's memories. And you get to see some cool stuff. And, the interface, it's all celestial and everything. And you get to find out a little bit more about Yang's existence. But you don't really find any of it interesting, ultimately. It just kind of like, okay, this AI maybe he can feel, maybe he can't feel. He was good for the family. He's apparently good for other people that he interacted with, and there's some other ideas that they explore, like the possibility of clones, and not, actual humans, but they're clones. It's parts of the Clonosaur. Apparently, E.E. Cummings wrote it. Nobody that is a non-MST3K fan will get that. And even if you're an MST3K fan, you might be struggling to remember that one. But anyway, I digress. It just ended up being boring. I just wasn't gripped by it. I was I was ultimately disappointed. I get what they were trying to do, and I certainly didn't hate the movie, but as far as what A24 usually does, as far as their quality, technically it worked. Everything else just was kind of boring, and it just kind of was, and I don't know, just this, the idea of this future where AI could just, AI makes your life easier, but shut down, it's really, really difficult, and some other ideas explored. It wasn't the worst way to present it, but it was also done in a very boring way, and it just ultimately wasn't very gripping. I am going to get into spoilers here, but it is on Showtime. If you do have Showtime, there are worse ways to spend your time. Maybe you guys will feel differently than I do. But let's just get into spoilers. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. Okay, so Yang is shut down. There's this museum that wants his memories and to preserve his body. Because apparently, when you're an AI program or whatever it is, a clone, whatever, you can, you're in your refurbished model, you can still decompose because you're still human flesh outside of it, I guess. So this museum is willing to pay Jake a hefty price, which will help him with his tea shop, help him with the fees and everything. There's also this one guy that named Russ that Jake's neighbor George suggested, like, hey, this guy could help, fix him for a cheaper price. But then Russ is going off on all these crazy conspiracies. There may or may not be true spyware in the robots and whatever, but this museum ends up getting his memories. Jake looks through the memories. Mika can't cope with this stuff. We get a lot of memories, a lot of memories, a lot of memories, a lot of fucking memories, and that's pretty much all the movie goddamn is, which is fine. Reflecting back on that stuff, and when you deal with a sudden loss, is AI or whatever, isn't the worst thing. It's just the presentation is basically languid and aggressively boring at times. I mean, I'm sorry. I was almost falling asleep during this, and I thought maybe it's just a lack of sleep. No, I've seen slow burn movies and slow moving movies that have interested me more than this one, and unfortunately this misses the mark. It's a rare miss from A24. Ultimately, we do get a couple decent quotes actually from Yang, where Kira does her some reflecting, and they're talking about butterflies and existence and stuff like that, and he says, I'm fine if there's nothing in the end. There's no something without nothing. It's true. And even though they didn't want Yang to be in the museum, they wanted his memories to be preserved. Okay, that's fair, because he meant a lot to one particular character named Ada that had a great aunt, and she's also a clone. And it turns out that Yang knew her in a previous life or with a previous family. And he lived a whole lot of lives. He was a refurbished model and all that. So it wasn't the worst movie I've seen. Not at all. Technically impressive. Decently acted overall, but mostly just boring. And I have to give it a C+. I can't ignore the fact that this movie just didn't grip me like I thought. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.